Welcome. In front of me I have the Xiaomi 11T, and today I'll go over unboxing along with a quick overview of this phone. So anyway, straight off the packaging it kind of looks like something went wrong here, as you can probably see. So I don't even need a knife to pop this open. It's kind of already has a hole in here. There we go. Rip that off and we get... Something is wrong here. Okay, this I don't think is a new phone. I think someone is trying to scam me here. As you can see, this is actually cut open already, which it shouldn't be. And this is also, okay, that's great. So much for a brand new device. Nice try. So someone is actually selling this phone, trying to pretend that it's brand new, but it's not. So I guess let's see what we get in the box, shall we? So I would say this is a unboxing, but someone already did go to an unboxing, obviously. So let's see. And here we get the typical usual casing for the phone. It looks brand new. Underneath here we get the phone itself. I'm gonna take it out carefully just so I don't put any kind of fingerprints on it. I want to see if the screen is actually just pristine. And okay, it looks like there's no blemishes on it. So at least that's good. I'm carefully looking at it, considering it is a phone that is apparently open. So this is not brand new. It's, yeah. This additionally is wrong. This part is usually where the camera is, so some idiot put it the opposite way, because it should be going like this. So that's another thing that sells the fact that this phone isn't brand new. Then in here we got the charger and the cable. Obviously this is a 67 watt charger, a little bit of a step down from the 120 watt charger on the Pro version of this phone. But still way better than basically any kind of other competitor includes with in their box. Especially Apple or Samsung, which they don't include anything in the box. So anyway, let's pop this open. Or not pop it open, but turn on the device. There we go. So while it's turning on, I'm going to quickly go over the specs of it, or at least of the display. So this is a 6.67 inch display, 1080p by 2400. It's a AMOLED display with apparently 1 billion colors, 120 Hz refresh rate, HDR10 Plus, and apparently a peak brightness of 1000 nits. So these are basically like all the actual specs of the display itself. And last one, the glass at the front is a Cornell Gorilla Glass Victus. So I believe this is actually the best one you actually have right now. I'm gonna quickly skip through the setup right here. There we go. So moving on from the display, we can move over to the cameras, and if we flip over the device, we have basically the same camera setup as we have on the Pro version. We have 120 or 108 megapixel wide sensor, 8 megapixel ultra wide, and 5 megapixel telephoto macro lens. So literally exactly the same setup as you have on the Pro version of this phone. In addition, a little bit of a step down, you can record max at 4K 30 frames instead of like on the Pro version at 8K 30 frames. And the Pro version has 4K 60, unlike this one, which only caps out at 30. But if you drop it to 30, or not 30, but 120p, what am I saying? 1080p, you can record at 30, 60, and also 120 Hertz. I believe the 120 is actually not a slow motion, it's just a actual like recording speed, because this device does have a 120 Hz refresh rate of the screen, so you could utilize it fully. I'm gonna quickly check it out just out of curiosity. Let's agree, and let's go to the... That's weird. There's like something rattling. I don't know if that's the camera, maybe the buttons. Nope, those are in the buttons. Okay, something is rattling in the phone. That's concerning. But anyway, I'm gonna get back to the actual video recording just so I can see where we got it. I think I need to actually first select the video before I go into settings. Okay, there we go. So 1080p 60, is there anything better? Okay, so it looks like the 120 frames is restricted to slow motion, unfortunately. So when it comes into normal recording, you only cap out at 100 or 60 frames instead of the 120 that I thought. So yeah, anyway, moving on. At the front and the cutout, we have a 16 megapixel wide sensor, 1080p 30 frames, exactly like the Pro version as well. Now moving on to the actual specs of this device, the processor in here is apparently a Dimensity 1200. It's a 5G chipset, and I'm gonna quickly just make sure, because sometimes there are like two versions of the devices, which means that one might come with a Snapdragon and the other one might, well, not. So let's see. (11T), all specs. CPU octa-core, max 3 GHz. That's not really what I wanted to see. Well, that's a little bit of a shame. It doesn't actually tell me what the processor in here is. I don't really like that, to be honest, but I guess I'm gonna base the fact that this is a Dimensity 1200 in this case. And that is actually what it is. It's an octa-core. I believe it doesn't actually cap out at 3 GHz, a little bit below or maybe above. Let's see. Octa-core. Where is it? Yeah, it looks like, yeah, it's kind of weird. Anyway, let's get going with the rest of the specs. So this device, I believe, let's see, I'm gonna quickly check on the box, is a 8GB RAM, 128 storage. And there is also a 256GB, 8GB RAM version of it. So just more storage, same amount of RAM. Both of the cases do have UFS 3.1 storage, so that is basically the fastest one you almost can get, only beaten by Apple's M.2 storage, I believe they have, or NVMe storage. So yeah, on Android side, this is the best you can get anyway. Moving on, I'm gonna quickly check if we do have a SD slot in here. The Pro version did not, and it looks like this one does not either. And yep, it does not. So if you need more than 128 gig storage, do go for the bigger one right away. Otherwise, you will be kind of sorry later on. Okay, moving on. The battery size in here is a 5000 milliamp hours, which is exactly the same one as on the Pro version, with the, well, downside, like I mentioned before, smaller charging brick. This one is the 67 instead of the 120. But apparently this phone will charge to 100% in 36 minutes. Now, just for comparison, the 120 watt brick with the T or 11T Pro will charge to 100% from 0 in 17 minutes. Let that sink in, that is insane. But anyway, still with this one, this is still probably one of the best charging speeds you can get anyway, with a 67 watt charger. There is not many phones that have any kind of better charging than this, so this is still basically top notch. Even though it's beaten by its own company, it's still basically at the top. Now, anyway, moving on lastly to the price range of this device, and this comes at around $500, which, to be fair, I think for $500, I believe I would prefer to pay more and get the Pro version of it, just because It has a couple additional features that I would like the better camera recording with the 8K or 4K 60 as an example, and the way faster charging, which, to be fair, if Apple was selling that kind of charger alone, the charger would be probably worth more than the difference in those two devices. So just keep that in mind, because the Pro version of it costs about $650, so roughly about $150 more. Let's be honest, if Apple would be selling a 120 watt charger, they would probably want $200 because it's Apple. So yeah, honestly, just a charger alone, in my opinion, is worth the upgrade of it. And additionally, you get a way faster processor with the Snapdragon 888, basically top of the shelf processor. So that's the reason why I'd go for the higher one. But obviously, if you're looking for a phone out of $500 range, this one is also amazing. Now, I'm not really a fan of Dimensity processors, but honestly, this is, I believe, the highest one, the highest spec one, the 1200, so it should work just fine. And other than that, with the difference in processor and the charger, there is virtually no differences between those two phones, the Pro and the non-Pro version of it. Like I mentioned, the only difference is charger, the cameras, how well you can record on the cameras, because you have the 8K 30 and 4K 60, unlike here. And what else was there? I believe probably the build quality. Let's see, this is actually glass anyway, so the build quality is basically the same in this case, with the glass back, aluminum frame, fingerprint on the side. Even the size of this is the same, screen is the same. Like I said, the phones are virtually identical, with a couple little minute differences. The primary one, in my opinion, would be the processor, to be honest. And the Snapdragon 888 over the Dimensity 1200. But at the end of the day, both of the devices are outstanding. And if you're looking for a device below 500 or at roughly around that price range, then obviously this phone is great. If you don't mind forking out about $150 more, then I would recommend you to go for the higher one, the Pro version of it, which will give you better performance overall. But yeah, at the end of the day, both of them are just great. And that being said, if you found this very helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.